Nekesa. I'm a psychologist. Apart from being a psychologist, I'm also a tutor. I always teach psychological topics, and I also do counseling. And today I'm starting a new thing. I'm shooting a clip on some of the topics I've been discussing. I have a page on Facebook. It's called Psychologist Winfrida Nekesa. Those who have been following me, I've been putting up topics on various issues, especially on mental health, some of the psychological topics, and which also some of them are educative. But today I've decided, because of the demand of my fans, I've decided to come up with a video so that those who are much more interested in the videos can be able to access it. So basically today I'm not going to talk too much, but I'm going to discuss on the topic here written on the board, depression. And due to the public demand, because nowadays there are many cases of people who are suffering from depression. As you watch in the news, every day you can hear that people have died, people are killing each other, couples are killing each other, people are committing suicide, all this because of depression. So I've decided to explore depression, and so that we can learn about it and also find ways of preventing it from happening. To add on that, I remember when Corona came in 2020, March, it is a catalyst which also contributed to much higher rates of suicidal rates in our country, even in the world, because people's lives were changed. Okay, so basically I'm going to talk about depression because many people are affected by this. And according to research, almost 1 out of 10 people, one is suffering from depression. So you see the rate is higher. And as counselors, psychologists, our work is to make sure that we inform people and also to prevent any negative thing from happening in the community. So straight away I'm going to start explaining what is depression. And depression is a mood disorder that causes persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest. So when you talk of depression, we are talking about something that really affects your mood. That means your mood will automatically change. If you are somebody who was happy and smiling, when depression strikes you, your mood changes. You become somebody who is sad, okay? You even lose interest in the activities that you used to enjoy. I can give an example. Like, for example, if you are that kind of person, maybe you are the breadwinner in the family and you used to take your family maybe for vacations, or over the weekend you can take them for a picnic or just for enjoying. When you start experiencing depression, those activities, you lose interest. You no longer value those activities. And also, another thing of depression, it affects how you feel, how you think, and how you behave, okay? And also it can lead to emotional and physical problems. So if it goes into severity, there's a way it can affect you physically. You can become impaired, okay? Impaired means you can't function properly, like you can't even, sometimes you are unable to wake up to do normal things like hygiene, going to the workplace, heading the family, because you are emotionally and physically impaired because of the depression. Now, still on the depression also it is a serious mental illness. Why is it called like that? Because it affects your mental being, okay? It affects your brain, and it is a serious one because it interferes with somebody's life. If you have been struck by depression, it means you can't be able to think properly. It affects the way you make decisions, okay? Sometimes when you have depression and you make decisions, you can come up with irrational decisions that are not good, they are not appropriate. At times, individuals who are suffering from depression, they experience hallucinations. That means they have false imagery or visions. Sometimes they also experience delusions, false beliefs. They can hear voices, but no, they are not seeing anyone, but they hear voices. So they can start behaving in a weird way, which is not good. That's why we say depression is a serious mental illness which needs to be dealt with. Again, depression, it can be long-lasting and also can lead to severe feelings of sadness. If somebody is suffering from depression, they are sad all the time. When you see them, they are always sad. They feel hopeless, okay? They feel worthless. They lose interest in the activities that they used to love. They just view their life as a negative thing. They don't view the positive side of life because depression is really working in them. And another thing, depression can also cause physical symptoms of pain, okay? So when you're suffering from depression, you can also feel the physical pain in your body. Another thing, you can also lose your appetite, or your appetite changes, okay? If you're that person who used to love food, or you used to have high appetite of food, once you start suffering from depression, the appetite changes. You start, today you can eat more, you don't feel like eating, or if you're eating maybe large amounts of food, you start reducing because there's no appetite. Also, you start experiencing sleep problems. When you go to bed, you can't sleep. You stay awake, okay? Up to the late hours of the night, you stay awake. Or if you sleep, you only sleep for a few hours. You can only maybe sleep for 2 hours, you're up. You can't go back to sleep. That is a symptom of what? Depression. Now, allow me to talk about the characteristics of depression, okay? Now that you have understood what depression is, let's look at the characteristics. Maybe if you're experiencing it, you can be able to tell this is depression I'm suffering from. So the first one is the low mood, okay? Or low interest in activities enjoyed previously. So when you realize that your mood has changed, maybe you are that person who used to have a good mood, you know, a high mood, all of a sudden your mood changes, it becomes low. And also you lose interest in the activities that you used to enjoy previously. That is a symptom of what? Depression. Another thing, and also the feeling has to be persistent for more than 2 weeks. If the feeling is persistent for more than 2 weeks, that indicates that you're experiencing depression. Another characteristic is trouble concentrating. If you're a student, if you're in class, you'll be having trouble concentrating in class. While the teacher is teaching, your mind is not there because depression has set in. If you're working in your workplace, you can't be able to concentrate well on your work because your mind is disturbed, okay? Then, I've talked about appetite change and loss. There's another thing, feeling of hopelessness and worthless. Somebody who is suffering from depression, they always have this feeling of hopeless, like life has there's no hope in life. They always have feelings which are pessimistic, okay? They look at life in a negative way. They don't see any positive side of life. They also feel worthless, like there's no meaning of me staying alive, you know? Or I'm useless, I'm that person like people look down upon. That is somebody who is experiencing depression. That's how they feel. Finally, they have suicidal thoughts, okay? Somebody who is suffering from depression, they are always thinking, after all these characteristics, finally they feel like the world has turned against them, and the only thing is to do what? To commit suicide. So basically, or in summary, most of the individuals who commit suicide, like 3/4 of them, they are suffering from depression. If you just go down to investigate what is the cause of suicide, the majority of them are suffering from depression, and maybe the significant others never realized, okay, and it was too late. So these are some of the red flags you need to watch out. If somebody is suffering from depression, you can act immediately before it reaches the final stage of committing suicide. Then, Let's explore again the major causes, because we can't talk about depression and fail to talk about the causes. What causes it? Okay. There are 4 major causes of depression, and the first one is family history. Okay. If from your family, for example, maybe your great grandparents or your relatives, your uncles, your aunties, if either of them, somebody was suffering from depression, then there's a probability you are likely also to do what? To suffer from it, because it is in the bloodline. So that is another cause. Then number 2, we have illnesses and health issues. When you talk about illnesses, there are some illnesses which can also lead to depression. For example, if somebody is suffering from cerebral malaria, we know very well that cerebral malaria attacks the brain, okay? And depression also, it is a mental illness which attacks the human brain. So if you're suffering from cerebral malaria, it is likely that you are so vulnerable to depression. Another thing, health issues. If somebody again is suffering from terminal illnesses, what I mean is like chronic illnesses. For example, somebody is suffering from cancer, okay? Cancer is a chronic illness, it has no cure. That one can also lead to depression, because somebody who is suffering from it, they know very well that I will not be cured. So it can really affect their mind. Also HIV and AIDS, okay? It can also lead to depression. And diabetes. These are long-term illnesses which you have to stay on medication for a longer period of time, and you know very well that they are only there to manage the illness but not to cure. So it can also lead to what? Depression, because of the stress, the way that somebody is thinking, how they are going to exit the world, and they are not ready for it. Again, also another major cause of depression is medication. We have medication, we have drugs and alcohol. Under medications, there are some medications when you take, they can make you suffer depression, okay? I don't want to mention them here because some are prescribed by our doctors, but it's upon you to do your research, find out which kind of medication that can make you vulnerable to depression. But drugs, I can talk about drugs and alcohol. If you take alcohol, then you are likely to do what? To experience depression. Drugs like marijuana, bangi. If you take heroin or cocaine, you're probably likely to do what? To suffer from depression, okay? So those are some of the major causes. And finally, the personality. Personality, we are talking about the character trait of somebody. And as you know, in psychology, we have 2 categories. We have the extroverts and the introverts. Then under the extroverts, we have the cholerics and we have the phlegmatic. No, we have the cholerics and sanguine. Then introverts, we have the melancholics and phlegmatics. Now, personality, phlegmatics and melancholics, these are personality types, especially the melancholics. This type of personality, they are prone to depression because they are always reserved. They don't like sharing their issues, okay? So they are very vulnerable to depression. So if you're that type of personality, if you're melancholic type of personality, then you need to watch out, because you are vulnerable to depression because of the character traits that you have. Finally, now that we have talked about depression, we have known how it is, we have known the characteristic, how it caused, we have to look at the way we can be able to manage it or treat it, okay? So that takes me to treatment for depression, okay? Treatment and management of depression. But I'll start with the treatment. Under treatment, we have medications and psychotherapy, which are very effective to most people who are suffering from depression. And under medications, we have this type of medications, but they are normally prescribed by the doctor. We have the carbamazepine, but you have to go to the psychiatrist, okay? You have to go to the psychiatrist, or you have to go to the psychologist or a mental health practitioner to prescribe for you. You should not go to the chemist and buy it on your own. You need a prescription from the doctor. Then we have the psychotherapy. Psychotherapy involves medication and therapy. Therapy, that is counseling, okay? Because depression has different causes, and their treatment will depend on the cause of the depression, okay? So these two types of medication and treatment, they are very effective for most people who are suffering from it. Now, I'll look at ways of managing depression. That one I've talked about treatment. The ways you can manage depression and the fastest way to treat it and feel better. The first one is by doing exercises. That means it will temporarily boost how you feel. When you do exercises, your body becomes active. Your body becomes active, especially there's a neuron in the brain which is called the endorphin. When you do exercises, you feel good, okay? And when you feel good, you suppress the other neuron that makes you sad. Another way is by eating healthy, or you eat a balanced diet. Remember, if you eat a balanced diet, you'll become healthy, and also your body will function well. Then we have also, you need to get enough sleep, because sometimes when you work, or if you overwork your brain, then you are making it to become tired, and also you become vulnerable to depression. So you need to get enough sleep. And when I talk of enough sleep, because some people can say, if I sleep for 2 hours, that is enough. 2 hours is not enough. You need to sleep around 6 to 8 hours, okay, the night. That is enough sleep. Then also you need to challenge negative thoughts, okay. There's a saying which says, you cannot stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can stop a bird from making a nest on your head, okay. That means anytime that you have a negative thought which has come in your mind, you need to get rid of it. Don't allow it to stay there, because once you allow it, you start developing negative attitude which affects to depression. So make sure anytime that you are having negative thoughts, try to erase them, remove them, so that you can always be welcoming the positive thoughts which are very constructive. Another thing, check with your doctor before using supplements, okay? Supplements are good for our health. They boost our immune system, okay? But if you're suffering from depression, before you go to get supplements to help you out, you need to consult your doctor. Don't just go to the counter and buy for yourself, because it can bring a negative impact. So check it with your doctor accordingly. Then another thing, do something new. Like you can come up with a program that is new, you've never done it. Maybe you take a vacation, or just come up with something which is creative that can make you happy. And also you avoid that kind of monotonous life. Finally, avoid alcohol and other drugs, because when you looked at the causes, alcohol and drugs were other causes of what? Depression. So for that few remarks about our topic, thank you very well. And I believe those who are watching, you can be able to subscribe to this channel. Next time, I'll be able to come up with another topic. And if you have any question, kindly please comment, put your question to the comment section. I'll find it there, and I'll get back to you. Thank you. Have a good day.